I'll never forget that we ran back to the Borgata after we made that score, hit a daily double, ended up getting back about $850 or something, but needed it desperately to avoid going to the cash machine. And it's always a little sad when you're among the 11 or so people that are lined up at those ATMs around any casino destination at 12:01 because it's a new day. You can get new cash, but you might be out of it before you even get to breakfast. It's worth having these limits, I guess, on your ATM card. No, Libby? Like, what's the maximum you could draw off your ATM card if you put
usually 500. It's usually 500.
Okay,
I don't know what's around.
That's at a nickel somewhere around
Yeah.
that category. And lately, my withdrawals have been frequent and even more generous.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Monday morning here in South Florida and around the world, good to have you with us here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. It's the Defo Show. Appeal yourself off the mat Monday, and we're certainly doing some of that. I don't know how active your weekend was, Lubie, but I could not have been any lazier this weekend. Did virtually nothing of any great effort that it would take to get out there. Walked over to the beach a couple of times. That was about it. A lot of seaweed, Lubie. A lot of seaweed. Everybody's worried about sharks. I'm more concerned about seaweed, my friend. It gets all entangled and it wraps around your neck. All of a sudden, you feel like you're in some kind of bizarre Irwin Allen film with killer seaweed. And it was all over the place here in South Florida, although little to complain about compared to some of the weather atrocities that are taking place elsewhere around the United States and around the planet. And you can't help. I mean, your heart bleeds for these people in Kentucky. My God, supposedly socked with more rain again last night. And you're watching just devastation and families being washed away. Pretty crazy stuff. And then you got this giant blistering heat wave going on the West Coast and fires burning all over the place. Global warming? I think not. Stuff, I don't know, was it happening 300 years ago, all of these weather atrocities? I guess they had their share. But nonetheless, it does seem kind of odd that these occurrences are more and more frequent, much like the whole argument about the banning of assault rifles. It does appear logical to believe that maybe if they weren't so readily available, you might at least have one less mass shooting, which was there something going on in Orlando yesterday? I mean, it becomes almost shrug your shoulders matter of fact, right? I thought I caught a blip on the news. It's almost like seeing some inconsequential trade on the crawl on SportsCenter. We go, oh, yeah, 11 dead. Was there something going on in Orlando yesterday? I thought I caught that. I'm almost afraid to watch the news. But we're here in the toy department, the sports world, and good to be here. Although, that was obviously the big story and pleasure. Actually, later, I was hoping this would happen. Lesley Visser going to join us, very close to Bill Russell during his career. Her brother Chris had a very touching tribute that he posted on Facebook about Bill Russell. Bill Russell, 88 years old, passed away yesterday. And this was a weird one because, I mean, for me, who knew that he was even in poor health? I didn't know. It was kind of like when Shula checked out at 90-something. These are guys you figured were never going to die. Just they would go on forever. And every time you saw Russell at a public appearance, while he may have been showing signs of age, he certainly didn't look like, he was close to meeting his maker. And so it kind of surprised me yesterday. Mike Mayo actually texted me the news asking me, of course, well, what's the question everybody's going to ask me? Did you have him? I know you had him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, Deadpool activity. No, I did not have Bill Russell in the Deadpool, nor... I mean, would I have been happy to cash? It's almost like asking me if I would sign up for the Live Tour. What are you talking about? Nobody's rooting for anybody's death in the Deadpool. It's just that if it happens to occur and you cash in on it, I don't know. Is that so evil of a concept? Do you consider that blood money, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Is it like signing up with the Saudis? Am I hypocritical to sit here and kind of cast aspersions at the Live Tour guys for selling out? Think about this. Phil, I don't think Phil's had a round under par since he signed on for the Live Tour. I mean, you're talking about El Finito. This guy is a shot fighter, finished. I don't know what happened to him. He was competitive like a year ago, and he was 51, and he wins a major championship, and you're thinking, my God, that's brilliant. I mean, what a great continuation for a career that started out where he was always being ripped, right? Best golfer never to win a major. He finally broke through, won a handful of majors, and then at 51, he wins a major golf tournament last year. And you thought, wow, remarkable to be able to have that kind of stability where you can keep a career going at the highest of levels for such a long period of time. But whatever happened after that, I don't know if it's the gripe with Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, or whatever this controversy is that's following. Everybody that signs up for the Live Tour has to answer the obvious questions like, hey, did you sell your soul to the devil? That's always a good one coming from the crowd there at the press conference, right? It's not like, hey, can you describe that putt you had on 16? I always like when, one of the general questions at a golf press conference is, take us through your round. It's kind of like Jim Gray, in the ring after a fight. Guy's got blood dripping from every pore, and he says, how would you grade your performance tonight? I'd give it a B+ there, Jimmy. I tell you what, the blood dripping into my eyeball was not a stupid questions, but it's sort of relevant at these golf press conferences, and I don't know who asked the obligatory question, take us through your round. I don't know. Have you ever sat in on one of these things? I don't think you've ever gone to a golf press conference. Yeah. Take us through your round. And then the guy does. He says, well, on one, I teed off driver. I hit it about 2 inches to the right of where I was aiming and went like 3 yards too long. I got in a little pothole there that somebody left. They didn't replace their divot. And then I shanked one. And a guy will go through like all 69 shots and describe them in great detail. It's great, man. Total Recall. I don't think Phil could remember all of his shots, man. He's spraying a ball all over the place. I mean, he looks like, your typical spray hitter. Anyway, he finishes up like +5 in a 3-round tournament over what appeared to be a relatively easy course there, that Bedminster with the Trumpster parading around. Like, I mean, could you look like any more of a clown than the Trumpster did parading around? There I go. I'm sorry.
Man,
I did it, Libby. I decided I wasn't going to do this anymore, and I can't help myself.
It's hard not to.
For a guy who was blasting the Saudis when he was the president of the United States as the enemy of all people,
good.
To now be partying with these guys and taking their money, as I would imagine that if they have 100,000 and change to pay the guy that finished in last place in this golf tournament, after giving a guy like $100 million aside for the tour to begin with, they probably had a pretty handsome fee that they were handing over to Donnie Trump there to host this golf tournament, and then he has another one coming up at Doral. Are you going to be out there protesting, Libby? Heckling, doing something? No interest.
No.
Heinrich Stenson ends up winning the thing. This was a guy. I mean, this is like the 40 and over tour. It really is. It's sort of an intermediate tour between the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour.
Yep.
So if you want to play in your 40s, and he cops $4 million. This guy was not going to make $4 million in prize money the rest of his career. He copped $4 million for winning this tournament, a 3-round tournament. Heinrich Stenson, right? The big Swede. We'd thrown in the towel on a big Swede a long time ago.
Yes.
A functional guy. I don't know. It's not like he's horrible, but, certainly was not a contender to win anything in recent years. And yet there he is winning $4 million or making $4 million. Brooks Koepka, your man from Florida State, finished like a non-menacing 5th or 6th and ended up copping like $1.5 million, more than the winner, Tony Finau, had on the PGA Tour for winning the Rocket Mortgage tournament that just took place. And by the way, that's back-to-back for Tony Finau. But I don't know. The Trumpster running around in that white shirt with the black and white golf shoes and the stupid red cap on, make America great again. A guy who had blasted the Saudis as being just the most ruthless and despicable people that you could possibly ever find. And then all of a sudden he's like, 9/11, I don't know. I'm not sure anything really happened there. Oh, that schmuck. All right, I got that off my chest. I want to get that out of the way. The Bill Russell tributes, very, very touching. A lot of tributes coming in for Bill Russell. I watched Bill Russell play because I was a kid when he was breaking into the NBA. Now, the NBA was not nearly as popular, although we did watch it. You didn't have the availability of like a zillion games. There wasn't any NBA Network and TNT and TBS and all of these other outlets for NBA broadcasts. In fact, it's still legendary that the NBA Finals, in the 70s, were being shown on tape delay.
Yeah.
They didn't even play the games live, on TV. So, they were a long way off. Bill Russell, though, a great player. The battles with Chamberlain and Walt Bell's Bellamy, always classic. Of course, I saw a lot of Russell against the Knicks in that Bellamy era, and just a dominant player. I mean, revolutionized the game. Everybody would knock him, back in that time, even for not being a big scoring machine, where Wilt Chamberlain was going for 100. Bill Russell's career scoring average was 15.6. So when people start talking about anybody that wants to throw a little so-called chink in the armor there of the Bill Russell legend, will point to that 15.6 scoring average, which wasn't exactly enormous. So you would figure anybody that would be considered among the greats of all time would have had to be a 20-plus point a game scorer. And yet Russell had little interest in scoring and didn't care how his team went about the business of winning the game. Now he would occasionally grab like 50 rebounds in a game. So a rebounding master, tremendous shot blocker also with great instincts. They had any number of clips in these various tributes that I was watching yesterday, which was pretty much all day long for Bill Russell. And SportsCenter, ESPN, they did a very good job on this. I don't know if they were waiting, like did they have word that he was going to die? Well, what happens with this sort of stuff, right? How many of the local stations here do you think had the Shula package ready to go, just in case he checked out at any time? And so you could go right to it. Okay, right to the Shula package. The minute that it was known that the guy died. But if they were putting this together on the fly, tremendous job by ESPN yesterday of gathering various tributes and testament to the greatness of Bill Russell, who I just remember him grabbing a rebound and with that left hand, just, it was unusual, like especially the Jewish kids from New York. Well, we couldn't palm the basketball. That was one of two reasons why we couldn't dunk, Lubie. The Jewish kids couldn't dunk because A, hands too small to palm the basketball, B, couldn't get 2 inches off the ground with the vertical leap. So it was always great, though, to see Russell just hold the ball with one hand and then fling it like he was Sandy Koufax down the court there to a streaking Hondo Havlicek or Sam Jones or KC or any of the great Boston Celtic teammates that he had over the years. And, people will also say, well, he won 11 championships with his team in 13 seasons, 2 out of 3 as a head coach, by the way, and was long ahead of Frank Robinson to break the color barrier as a head coach of an American professional sports team. He was the first of them. Red Auerbach gave him that distinction, turned the team over to him. Player coach, and still won 2 out of 3 championships with that Boston Celtics team. Went on and then coached. I don't know if this diminished his coaching career at all, but anytime you end up coaching the Sacramento Kings, I'm not sure that that's any great distinction. Also was a head coach with another team, Bill Russell, there in his post-Celtic career. But 13 years with the Celtics, 11 championships, greatest team sport player of all time. I don't know if you could deny that. And really was all about the so-called team. No I in team with Bill Russell. Didn't care about statistics, didn't care what people thought about him. Was also dealing with Jackie Robinson-like color barrier issues. Even in the NBA. There was a picture of Russell, I guess. Was this his rookie season? Was he the only black player on the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, he was, I think so.
At one time. I mean, I remember him playing with Satch Sanders and KC and Sam Jones and others. But, in this one particular picture I saw, and I think it was his rookie season, he had just broken into the NBA. He was the only black player on the team. Boston, not exactly known as a team. I mean, a city of great racial sensitivity, would you say?
Oh, no.
Not exactly a great place.
Is the overarching sentiment out of that area is uber liberal and uber open-minded, but there are certain areas in the greater Boston area that is known to be closed-minded, to say the least.
All right, yeah, and there were various incidents documented about how I think Jackie McMullen was on TV last night, and she was very close to Bill Russell, having been a reporter in Boston for so many years and a great NBA writer. And she had some very touching things, as I would imagine Lesley Visser will have to say later on this show. But she was talking about the incident where he moved to the suburbs of Boston. He moved his family to the suburbs of Boston. And, they did everything to defame him, feces all over his house and vandalized his home. And, essentially we're saying, hey, listen, N-word, get out of here. You're not welcome here. This was a star of the Boston Celtics, one of the most revered teams and franchises in all of sports history.
Yep.
And this was the kind of stuff that he was having to deal with. And then also, I mean, the social activism was not a popular thing for athletes to get involved in. And he was very much involved in all of that. Came, right away to be a backer of Muhammad Ali when he had his business about refusing induction into the armed services, and Martin Luther King marches. This was not something that a lot of athletes necessarily would get involved in. And Russell, of course, spearheaded most of that, and was very vocal and outspoken about it, and very instrumental in trying to promote the message of justice for all, so to speak. So I don't know that anybody could have anything but the highest of praise for this man. And watching his career, it was a pleasure, because you would just say, time and again, wow, how is it that this guy always ends up winning? Not the prettiest offensive player, though. I mean, he had the hook shot. He really couldn't shoot jumpers very well, but was inside and very crafty. And the rebounding stats are amazing. And the head-to-head battles with Wilt, and of course, Walt Bellamy will forever be remembered. To a lesser extent, Bellamy, but Wilt, of course, the most powerful force, I think, ever in basketball history. I mean, could you make a case for Kareem? He wasn't as strong as Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Wilt would be in there battling and grab like 35 rebounds a game also. So it was a pleasure to watch all of that back in the day. And it was great seeing the tremendous respect that people had for Bill Russell. And all of the tributes were very moving, very touching. And they were plentiful. And I would imagine that will go on for a while, and maybe even into perpetuity, as it deservedly should. We will not be featuring the professor today, who was probably the one guy that thought Russell sucked. That's my case on that.
He offered his services.
Yeah, he did volunteer to come on the show today, and we thought it would be in poor taste. So
I don't know.
listen to us making judgments based on what's good or bad in terms of taste. Apologize for that, people, but maybe we should lower the bar a little bit here on the program. I would think, and allow that material in. Decision coming today on your man Deshaun Watson. What do you think it's going to be, Lubie? I say 1 year suspension, like everybody's been speculating. What else? Is the NBA the NFL almost forced to do that?
Yes.
Just based on the fact that that's been out there forever, that they were going to suspend this guy for a year. Could it be longer than a year, like indefinite? I don't think so.
I think they're doing it.
You have no criminal charges here. The civil lawsuits were all settled without any, admission of guilt or anything public on that, except that now it is possible that people settle lawsuits just to get them out of the way, right?
Yes.
That they accuse the women of being gold diggers, and that was their only interest, was to get money and extract money from the guy. And even though it's radically unfair that Deshaun Watson is completely innocent, he still gave him the cash just to get it out of the system there. I don't know that I see that as 100% true.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but that does happen. Like in life, the idea because you settle means you're guilty, that's not true. Like big businesses all the time, frivolous lawsuits brought their way, and it's just cheaper for them and easier for them to pay it off. It doesn't mean that they're admitting guilt. They just don't want to deal with it. And I don't know if when you have almost 30 women come at you, if you did nothing wrong, but there's a lot of different sides to this where supposedly there was somewhat of a madam situation and the woman knew and out of nowhere they all came together, which is feasible. Both sides make a lot of sense. To me, at this point, if you're the NFL, you can't do less than a year. I mean, it's just been out there for so
long. Is it Blutarski, a Blutarski situation, 0.0 time suspended? Is that even remotely possible in this case?
No, because supposedly it came out, that was the issue, was the NFL wanted a year. His team wanted 6 to 8 games. So even his people were admitting he's going to get about half the season. So
I thought they were pushing for 0.0.
I mean, obviously they want 0, but they know at this point, I mean, he's not going to get 0. It was too big of a black eye, like literally, and pun not intended, but it's been too big of a mark against the league. This is 2 or 3 years now we've been dealing with this. Like, you can't do nothing.
All right, so we're suspecting that probably, I don't know, this is just a blind, blatant guess, but all of the public rhetoric has been that they're going to issue like a year suspension, and that the Browns are more than ready to deal with that. Kind of as you said before on the show, Lubie structured the contract so he got paid like a marginal amount of money this year, and they realized that this was going to be like Kevin Durant having an injury, where you're signing the guy, you're going to pay him something, but you know that the contract really doesn't begin until the following season because the guy is not going to be available to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the Browns, I mean, with Deshaun Watson, how big of a factor were the Cleveland Browns going to be
Oh no, they'd
this
be a
year?
contender. I mean, their defense is legit, and they brought in Amari Cooper, and
Yeah.
I think they brought back Landry. Oakley they re-signed. Like their running back tandem is one of the best in football between Hunt and Chubb. I mean, they're legit. Like the thing there was a quarterback they could count on, and that's the problem with Mayfield is he takes a lot of chances and he's a gunslinger. No, with Watson, they had a chance to win their division, and they had a chance to contend in the AFC, 100%.
Who was the guy? I keep forgetting his name that they brought in as a coach for 1 year, and he looked like a bouncer at a biker bar. Yeah, that guy was great. I mean, the Browns do everything they can to self-sabotage themselves. I mean, much like, I don't know, you can't really put our Miami Marlins in that category, although they just got swept by the Mets and now look like they're going to trade. One of your favorites there, Louis, Pablo Lopez, who got shelled yesterday in a showcase performance. I don't know if he was deliberately grooving a ball down the middle there. What do you think? Freddie Kitchens. Yeah, it was the guy. Thank you, Julian. Freddie Kitchens. Why can't we remember this guy? He's a classic, lasting image of buffoonery as a head coach in the National Football League. Freddie Kitchens, one of our favorites, was completely lost out there, and I don't know what possessed. I guess he had done a decent job. What was he, an interim coach the year before briefly and did all right, or somehow they had some success with his side of the ball, and then they make him the head coach, and it was kind of like as surprising as seeing Dan Campbell get another head coaching job. Really, I mean, where you're thinking, okay, old school or old fool? I mean, what's the deal with this? As compared to our Mike McDaniel, who is a complete polar opposite from the prototypical head coach in his approach. And I'll say this, Lubie, I mean, I kind of like this about, not to get too deeply into Dolphins training camp and the meaning of what's going on right now when guys are just running around, as they always say, cliche goes, in shorts and a T-shirt. But that being said, this is a huge departure from what we've usually seen from these Dolphin downtrodden teams where they're afraid to say, hey, you know what, I think we're going to be really good this year. I mean, what's wrong with believing that? Nothing, right? You may suck, but at least if you believe that you're going to be really good, you're in there with a half a fighting chance, no? And they have reason to believe that they will be good, but I do enjoy this new sort of not just enthusiasm, but almost embracing the idea that we're kind of putting it on ourselves here. We think we're going to be a really good team this year, and they're out there sort of celebrating that idea early on in training camp, which really is a huge move away from what we had when it seemed like Brian Flores wanted everything to be super subdued. Because he had no personality. I mean, maybe he has a great personality, but he certainly didn't show any. It wasn't like he was Joe Philbin, like completely vapid, like you weren't sure if there was a person in there. But he just seemed angry, didn't he? Brian Flores, about everything. Yeah. Every question irritated him. I mean, out of the Bill Belichick school of press conferences. And yet it sort of cast like a little bit of a downer pall, I thought, over the whole franchise, which, was exhibited by the fact that they would get off to horrendous starts every year and then surprisingly rally. In spite of the fact that you're thinking that this guy is he's kind of like the trainer in the corner that's always screaming at the guy, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You can't allow it. And you're thinking the guy's in the middle of a fight. Give the guy a break. I mean, your screaming hysterics, I don't know, are really going to help him realize that, he needs to double up on the jab. I'm not sure. Speaking of which, I watched, and I love boxing, but geez. You remember Orlando Cuellar, who was the trainer for Glenn Johnson? I think you might have met him a couple of times or gotten to meet him. And he was involved with a couple of guys in the corner at the last Hialeah fights. Okay. Orlando Cuellar. He's been around a long time. I got to know him through Glenn Johnson, who we followed for a while after he won the light heavyweight championship and even a little bit before that. But and a great story. And Orlando was always real solid trainer. Worked with a lot of the Cuban kids. So he's working with this guy, Rancis Barthelemy, who is now, I can't believe this guy's 37 years old. He sort of started his pro career right here, I believe, on a show at the Magic City Casino. Scott Savin, the innovator, coming up with a little boxing thing down there a long time ago. And he had a couple of these Cuban defectors that no doubt Louis de Cubas had something to do with, getting their career started. And Bartholomew kind of distinguished himself by winning a couple of championships, but really hasn't done much of late, to distinguish himself. And he's in there in the opening bout against one of the Russell brothers. There are like 9 guys named Gary Russell that are in boxing, and they're Gary Antoine Russell. Right, so he gets knocked down. A reasonable knockdown, but it wasn't like he didn't get hit on the chin. He kind of got hit in an awkward spot there and lost his stability. And so he gets up and he looks to be fine, right? He walks right to the referee, and the ref says, are you all right? And the guy, he doesn't say anything. And because he didn't say anything, the ref stops the fight. Like just in the middle. I mean, there was no, I've seen a zillion fights. I'm much more in favor of making an error, in that regard, stopping the fight too soon than stopping it too late. But this guy wasn't getting battered around. He was very much in the fight. It was only like the 5th round. Some guys had it 3-2 in favor of Russell. While another guy had it 4-1 in favor of Russell. But the rounds were reasonably close. And even though, it seemed like the momentum was going the opposite way, that Bartholomew was going to have to really rally to win this fight, it didn't seem like it was out of the question. And they stopped the fight, and Quire went nuts. Orlando. So I'm going to try and, see if we can get him on the show, because he was going crazy. But that was one of just a few atrocities that took place that night, where you had later on the headline fight was, you remember the fighter Danny Garcia?
Yes.
Danny Garcia, and he had the father, Angel Garcia, who's like a real asshole, or seems to be, and he's always the guy that's stealing the show there. While Danny was kind of a humble, quiet kid, and a very effective boxer. I think he had a record of like 31-3. He's won a couple of championships, different divisions. So he's making a comeback after about a year and a half out of the ring, and he's fighting this guy named Benavidez, who had a very good record, like 21-1, and as kind of a wild story, I believe his brother is David Benavidez, who's also a highly regarded prospect, and I want to say maybe even a former champion. But anyway, Garcia looks great, right? He's just beating the snot out of this guy for like 12 rounds. And it goes the distance, and then you have one judge calling this fight a draw. Now, fortunately, the other 2 saw it much more legitimately, even though they had it even closer than it probably was. But I mean, how do you have a guy like that and not take him to task if you're one of these sanctioning bodies or the New York State Athletic Commission, and sit that guy down and say, wait a minute, okay, we're going to go through all 12 rounds of this fight here. Here's your scorecard. You tell us what the hell was going on, all right? How on earth could you possibly mess with a guy's career like that and have this fight as a draw when everybody else had it as a lopsided Garcia win? It was kind of like the Adelaide Bird, Melvina Lathan scorecard, where, you're just like, what? How much money did Don King give you to come up with a score like that? But it hurts to see the sport look so illegitimate. With now the stoppage, the referee, he clearly just made a mistake. I don't know if he ever admitted to it. I think he looked at the guy, and because he didn't say anything, he figured he was out of it, right? And he was a little bit on Queer Street when he first got up from the knockdown, but he got up right away. But yeah, I mean, the fans should have been screaming. I'm amazed. If this was the Olympic Auditorium in LA and they had a stoppage like that, they would have pelted the ring with everything that they could get their hands on. There would not have been a single piece of debris in that arena that was not sitting on the canvas there. And it would have been time, as the great Jimmy Lennon Sr. used to tell me, as soon as you hear the word split decision, it's either time to split or duck under the ring apron there, because something bad is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely bizarre results. As the great late Manuel Stewart used to say, it's boxing. Anything can happen. Now, your girl, too, Amanda Nunez, speaking of combat sports, came back with a very impressive win after she had lost her title. I mean, she might be. I mean, they made a big deal out of Ronda Rousey. I always thought that Cyborg chick was like the best female MMA artist, and yet this Amanda Nunez, who hails from Miami, I mean, she's sensational, huh? Lost to this woman that she had a rematch with, and then just dominated her in the rematch. Although the girl Pena, I believe her last name was, gave a pretty good account of herself. I don't know. Do you want to see women bleeding all over the canvas? I mean, what do you think, Louis? This woman had a bad cut on her forehead. I mean, it wasn't something that was going to keep her from fighting, but it was like a deep gash. I don't know if they had a headbutt or whatever, but and blood literally covered the entire canvas with these two women, wrestling each other for 25 minutes. It was, I mean, if you were looking for gory, it was it. I mean, but to her credit, man, she hung in there, this Pena woman, and really looked tough. But congratulations there, Amanda Nunez, to come back and recapture her title. Looked like she had a new commitment to the dedication that it takes to be great at that particular sport. All right, what are we doing with the baseball trade deadline, Louis? Are we all over that?
Want to do something with it?
What's going to happen here? Aaron Judge, by the way, wow. I mean, you talk about a guy that gambled and so far has won. I mean, unless something tragic happens to him in the last 2 months of the season, he should lay claim to the legitimate home run record, which would be what, 62? Are you going to put it at 62? Was there anybody that wasn't on the juice that hit 62 homers plus in Major League Baseball history? Anybody not on the juice? Who has 60 plus in homers? Obviously Bonds, McGuire, Sammy Sosa. Are those the only three that have ever gone for 62 plus?
I think so.
Let's see. What's the common denominator there? Sosa, steroids. Bonds, steroids. McGuire, zit-back steroids.
Yep.
Never forget that, seeing the complexion of the skin on the back of Mark McGuire when he had his shirt off in the training room, and I was wandering around the Cardinals clubhouse that year that they were in the home run chase. What was that, 1998? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at it, and his back, it really did. It looked like a topographical map. You're thinking, wow, look at that. There's the Pyrenees, Himalayas, unbelievable. I mean, what adult has, maybe I'm being insensitive here, but what adult, a guy like in his late 30s or whatever McGuire was at the time, has massive zit back? Isn't that like a characteristic of somebody that would be much younger?
Yes. I mean, not to that level, and not on your back. I mean, you'll get pimples, I guess, when you're older, but not like that.
Yeah. No, that was
bad.
Yeah. I mean, if that was an indicator, I guess it was. And what was Major League Baseball looking at that they couldn't figure this out? Bonds' head is the size of a watermelon. Sammy Sosa, who was averaging 21 homers a year, all of a sudden is hitting 60 every season.
Exactly.
George Bush traded the guy, right?
He did.
Sammy Sosa, George Bush, the former president. That was another one of his moves that you looked at and said, well, if he traded Sammy Sosa before all of this happened, then how can you possibly let him lead the country, the greatest country in the world, or at least at one time? All right, many things happening on the show. Well, we're going to talk some more about, and this should be, real reflection and get some, very illustrative stuff from Lesley Visser on the brilliant career of Bill Russell. Bill Russell was at the wedding when Lesley married Dick Stockton, her first marriage. Bill Russell was there with Red Auerbach. How about that?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I see Red at your wedding. Wasn't at mine.
No.
Dead. He wasn't at any of my weddings, Red Auerbach. Was he in Vegas at the time? I don't even know. 2 out of my 3 weddings were in Las Vegas. But so that'll be a lot of fun sharing some stories with Lesley Visser about the great and late Bill Russell. Much is being made before we tell you about Hialeah Park, about this. I didn't get to see it. I didn't even know it was happening. Have you seen the stories about Ric Flair's final match?
No,
they throw a 73-year-old. I mean, what will you stop in terms of having no dignity whatsoever as a wrestling promoter?
Oh, good.
Ric Flair, man, this poor schmenk. I mean, they throw him in a ring. I don't know. Did he need the money, Ric Flair? He must be cashing in autograph signings or something. Just sell the robe. I mean, he could probably make cash somehow. Ric Flair has had 4 heart surgeries. What else? I mean, he had he almost died from a kidney ailment.
Been in and out of the hospital a lot the last few years. A lot.
And he's 73 years old, and they threw him in a ring, and everybody was concerned that he wasn't going to get up. He had to stagger when they finally. It was one of those times where they tagged off, and the guy staggers out of the ring, but he was really staggering out of the ring. His balance was completely discombobulated, and he looked like he was going to die. Ric Flair. They had him in a tag team match. I don't know if anybody saw this. We'd love to hear a description and some details because it sounded pretty sad. But well, I mean, what commission is sanctioning? I mean, they do regulate professional wrestling. What athletic commission? This was in Tennessee, I believe. I guess that explains it, right? Who comprises the state athletic commission in Tennessee? What would you think that was made up of? Mostly,
Yeah, our
guys that
guy.
were sons of politicians and daughters of politicians sitting there going, yeah, whatever you want to do.
The guy that used to call about Tannehill. That's the guy that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Tannehill.
Yeah, no, I mean, to allow this to go on, I mean, well, it was really, really tragic. And, apparently, a lot of people are ripping Ric Flair. But, I mean, what did you want the old geezer to do? 73 years old, nearly died a couple of years ago.
Why was he there?
4 heart surgeries. He had all kinds of different things. I don't think there's a body part inside of him, an organ that's real. Every single one.
He can't just be an ambassador and like just be the official ref or something. Like, why does he need to actually be in a match? Like,
My God.
even if you're just sort of massively subduing it, like anything at his, like he's been in real health problems.
Yeah,
Like, why
right.
would he? I don't get, like, that's just weird. Like,
He came in pushing one of those things, the portable things with the bags dripping. What is that called in the hospital? Where you're walking
IVs,
along the
intravenous.
yeah, but you have the little thing that you're pushing along yourself.
Oh,
Look,
jeez.
I'm walking, right? It's like Jerry Lewis time, man. Look at
Yeah.
us, we're walking, right? And you got the little thing. I hope not to be there. I really, dying peacefully in your sleep sounds like a very, very viable
Yeah.
and desired option, does it not? That would be the way to go. Never mind all of this other stuff where you collapse while you're walking around some hospital because some doctor is driving you. Listen, you got to get up and walk. Otherwise, that's it.
Yeah, good.
Like, really? I can't even stand up. What are you talking about? All right, now, Hialeah Park, great place to go. If you're going to punch on the ponies, Hialeah Park is just beautiful there with the champion simulcasting room. And, of course, the casino is always hopping, and they pay big dividends. And what I like, and I was just asked to take a survey of another local casino, and I actually filled out the things because, they've been okay with me in terms of the rewards program, but there is nothing that even comes close that parallels what they're doing at Hialeah Park when it comes to their rewards program. And you really need to take advantage of this. Go down there, get yourself a player's card. And when you do, it automatically entitles you to all kinds of freebies, including free play and discounts on food and drink and all kinds of great options. If they have something going on there, having a player's card is a real advantage. And then if you're like a VIP somewhere else, a big shot like the Mustang, right, where she snaps her fingers and they say, yeah, dinner's on us, they will match those considerations also for you at Hialeah Park. Just show them the card, and the next thing you know, you're like a big shot over there at Hialeah as well. So a lot of advantages to the rewards program. I think it's the best in town of any casino. That's at beautiful Hialeah Park. And then you can take advantage of all the great things that are happening. The casino is always hopping, all your favorite Vegas-style games, great food and drink, as I said, and also just a good vibe in there. And then the poker room is extremely well run, very professional, right from the first day. I remember being there and being overwhelmingly impressed with the way that they ran the poker room. I'm not even a big poker player, but you can kind of tell that, this thing is really going well and smoothly. I was in a couple of poker tournaments there, celebrity style stuff where 9 o'clock you go all in with 2 6-off suits so you can get out of there and get home. But nonetheless, just very pleasant experience with all the TV screens. You can watch all the sporting events. Dynamite during the football season. You want to get in there and play some cards on a Saturday or Sunday, watch college pro football. They really have it set up beautifully. I mean, it just did a great job there. It's really designed for the fan and for the patron. And as I said, the rewards program is really unrivaled by any casino here in town and maybe anywhere in the country. So lots of reasons to embrace an idea like going out to Hialeah Park. They open up at 9 every day. Open to 3 in the morning on the weekdays and then 5 in the morning on the weekends. So plenty of time to get in action at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Bill Russell passing away. Of course, the dominant sports story, Lesley Visser, going to join us later on in the program and share some of her stories and memories of the great, late Bill Russell. The trade deadline of Major League Baseball. A lot of speculation that's going to be just hopping with activity. Mike Lubie.
Supposedly Ohtani's on the trade block. I mean, the Angels are in like the Marlins place where they were trying to make a run and it's been a disaster. Well, Otani
I'm
of
not
all
sure the
guys.
Marlins were ever trying to make a run. I think they're trying to make a run out of town. I don't know. They did have some crowds, I guess, with the Mets in town. And then they get annihilated. The Mets staving off. I think the Braves swept a doubleheader yesterday. So the Mets and the Braves still very close in the National League East. The Marlins, I mean, this is pathetic, Lubie, when you really look at it. You know, considering what's going on here, that you've had a change of regimes where we despised Laurie and Sampson, thought maybe Derek Jeter was on like a 5-year plan. This would have been what, about year 4 or 5 of the Jeter 5-year plan, if that's what his,
Yes. He's year
stated
5.
goal mission was.
Year 5.
And they're 47 and 55. Now Jeter's not here, so you can't really hold him responsible. Kim Ng, who he assigned as a general manager, I mean, is she just so subdued by the fact that they're not going to, have any capital? $80 million payroll is chump change in Major League Baseball today. That's the Marlins payroll, and they went out and spent some money on a couple of guys. So I don't know. It just seems like it's a tragedy every year. Very frustrating to follow this team, and I would imagine the attendance will slump badly unless one of the marquee teams comes to town sometime for the remainder of the season. Do they have any games against like the American League East this year? I don't think so.
No,
They're not playing the Red Sox or the Yankees because that's the only thing that can salvage their attendance. And then we know what happens in South Florida, and I don't know if it's true around the country with other cities where you guys have lousy baseball teams like we do that are perennial losers. But with football coming in, it's only, 5 weeks away maybe from
Hall of Fame
regular
games
season.
this week. It's gotten to the point where people are really excited for the preseason. So that may even bump the Marlins.
They're doing a good job, these Miami Dolphins, though, of pumping up enthusiasm. This Tyreek Hill has been an infusion of energy to try and, I think, wake up what has been a franchise that, that can hurt you. I mean, the fact that you're constantly being, schooled to the idea that you're not very good. I mean,
not great.
These guys seem to have the kind of enthusiasm that, you would at least like to see to give themselves a chance to make something happen this year. I'm still amazed that John Kajemi is the most pessimistic of all of our guys talking about the Miami Dolphins. Kajemi.
He's very realistic, and it's like, now? I've been realistic.
I don't know. I mean, how much do you look at schedule? Like, if your team is good, shouldn't you be able to overcome, like, what supposedly is this Marquis de Sade schedule that they have? I never get overwhelmingly involved in that because, the other side of that is you really have no idea what these teams are going to look like later in the year. I mean,
every year teams go from bad to good and good to bad, and especially in the NFL. We see really drastic changes in teams from year to year, especially when injuries come into play.
Sure.
So to me, I never like they worry. Oh, this. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. Like, I don't know what they're going to happen. I have no idea when it comes to the NFL. All I know
you
is
could have. Go ahead. I was going to say you could have Green Bay on the schedule, in November, and Aaron Rodgers tweaks a knee the week before, and all of a sudden, what looked like a certain loss looks like a piece of gravy. There, it looks like the early season Alabama schedule.
For the first time in a long time, this team looks like they're really enjoying playing football. Like, Flores did a good job getting the defense the last 2 years, second half of the season to play well, but he totally forgot about the offense. And it just, look, I don't need it to be college. It doesn't need to be rah-rah, but the fact that you're seeing praise on both sides from not only the players, not only the staff, but writers locally and nationally, that's something we haven't seen. The fact that highlights are coming out, like you're seeing Tua look confident in the pot, throw friggin' bombs. We haven't seen that. The fact that you're seeing receivers running open versus an elite defense, like, we haven't seen that, so there's no reason that we shouldn't be excited. Like, I think it's time for some excitement, and I like that the players are embracing. I like that the players are embracing this swagger. The Dolphins haven't had a swagger since Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor. Marino, the Marx brothers were the last time you felt a real swagger with the Miami Dolphins.
2 words: trick plays. I think that's going to be the key to the season. Trick plays all day long. Flea flickers, Statue of Liberty. I believe this. Hook and lateral, trick plays, fake punts. That's how we're going to win. I think that's. I'm going to call McDaniel and suggest that.
Let's do it.
That you try and institute as many trick plays as you possibly can, because that's usually what the fans are calling for. Are they not? Yeah, we should have run a trick play. Unbelievable. All right, we're coming back with more here in a moment. Lesley Visser coming up about 8:30 today, and we'll talk some more about Bill Russell. That really was a tragic picture of Ric Flair laying on the bottom of some fat guy as he was desperately trying to, get to the corner to tag out so he could fall out of the ring and collapse. I mean, what hospital did they go to find Ric Flair to throw him into the ring like that? I mean, and how is it possible that people would? I mean, here I'm talking about it and I didn't even see it, but so was it entertainment?
And people were raving about it. I kept seeing stuff on Twitter about it. I was just like, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Die? Like, what is going on?
Not Ric Flair Jr., not Ric Flair the third. Ric Flair, the actual Ric Flair. They throw him in the ring. Why not dig up Bobby Valentine while you're at it? Or Haystacks Calhoun and throw him in the ring? Whose idea was this? I guess it drew a lot of attention, huh? All right. I mean, if they could make money selling Screech, doing celebrity boxing when he was alive, right? Remember that with the gloves? The gloves were the size of
stupid ass boxing. Yes.
Yeah. The My Pillow guy. I mean, was making the boxing gloves. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. It's a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Having a good time. Shohei Ohtani on the trading block. Wow, where does he end up? I mean,
I don't know.
What happens there? The guy Castillo from the Reds went to the Seattle Mariners trying to make a move. The Mariners.
Yep.
Trying to make a move. Although they lost that Rodriguez guy, got hit with a pitch, and he's going to be out for a little while. So, and what can you say about what Aaron Judge is doing? My God. Yankees lost a game yesterday to Kansas City Royals, coughing up a lead in the ninth inning, right? Did they have their closer in there, and he gave up a home run? And then Judge, though, has hit like home runs in 11 of the last 12 games, some ridiculous pace he's on, and has already 42, and I think is light years ahead of anybody else in Major League Baseball in an era where, you're seeing a lot of home runs being hit because that's all anybody cares about. Home runs, strikeouts. Home runs, strikeouts. That's all you get in Major League Baseball. That's unfortunate. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Did you see this kid? Who's he playing for? Where was it? The Giants? There's a guy that came up and he made his Major League debut, hit a home run in his first at bat, and then ended up going like 3 for 4. And he's the first guy ever in his Major League debut since like 1938 to get 3 hits in his first game and also knocking 3 runs. Since 1938, Lubie.
Jesus.
That's accomplishing something. Forgot his name, though. It was like Wimet or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, that was a pretty spectacular performance. All right, coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's always a pleasure. 12 o'clock today, Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet, and he was gambling his brains out over the weekend. He was much more gambling than he was gourmet over the weekend, although I'm sure he ate a lot also because he had various pictures of food. But he'll be coming your way on South Florida Live. Mike Mayo with us at 12 o'clock today with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. So you can catch that. And that thing's really catching on with that Let's Eat South Florida group, huh? They're tuning in like gangbusters here. I mean, churning up big numbers there on that show. So that's also very encouraging for us as well. So we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. It's 7:48.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Robert Klein, a pleasure. Huge fans and been bombarded with messages and texts attesting to your brilliance and how much they have enjoyed your work over the years, and still outstanding. Thanks so much. I don't know if you have 1 second real quick.
Yeah.
The Bronx Olympics would look like what? I called a friend of mine and I asked him if he was watching the fencing, and he said he thought that involved moving stolen merchandise. But the Bronx Olympics, so what would be the number one event?
The number one event will be the shout. Who could shout, yo, hey, yo?
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show on a Monday. Peel yourself off the mat Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubie, Lubitz. Our good friend Eric says, stay out of the politics, man. That's not our bag.
I don't know what politics we talked about.
Yeah.
When do we talk about, again, education or healthcare or taxes? Like, just because you vote for someone and you're embarrassed about that vote, like, that's not our, like, the guy held a golf tournament and he looked like a jackass. Like, if Biden did, there's a reason Biden doesn't do that. Like, if Biden did it, literally, we would make fun of him. You call him Sleepy Joe Biden. That's literally your nickname for him. Like, I hate that.
Biden's,
he's on a golf course.
He's I mean, not even bordering on senility. I mean, he's exhibiting.
He's senile. Yes, he is. I hope I said it last week. I hope neither runs again. Like, I want some young blood in that office in DC. But
let's energize the United States of America. Yeah,
I just hate that. Well, don't talk about it.
Nice.
What does that mean?
But you have to have somebody you respect. I mean, it's hard to respect a guy that goes out there and constantly is making a spectacle of himself. Like, and to make a statement like that, I mean, how embarrassing for a former American president to say, while these 9/11 people are a couple of miles away, saying, hey, how could you do this? And, to be so ignorant as to say, well, we don't really know what happened there. I mean, come on, Donnie. That was, all of a sudden, this was a guy that, I mean, he couldn't have been any more adamant about how the Saudis were the enemy of the people here. And to make America great again, we were going to have to do something about these despicable human beings. And there you go. A couple of years later, and one election loss, and all of a sudden he's teeing it up with the Sheik.
Whatever, man.
Hey, nice shot there, Sheik. Okay. Anything serious that you wanted to discuss? No. Let's just talk a little golf here.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
All right. Wow. All right. So you have the football on the horizon here, Lubie, and I am intrigued by all of this. They're making a big deal. I saw 1,000 clips of this. Same pass that Tua threw to your man Tyreek Hill, 60 yards in the air. Now, as I could perceive, I mean, from the video, there was nobody guarding Tyreek Hill when he hoisted this pass. Nobody
there was
defended.
Coverage. Yes, there was.
There was, yeah.
Coverage, and he overthrew him, I think on purpose, and Hill ran under it and separated from tight coverage to catch the ball in stride. Yeah, there was coverage.
That one pass in practice has motivated people to the idea and the concept that the Dolphins are indeed Super Bowl material. That is one of the great things about training camp and training camp videos, training camp results, training camp coverage, training camp analysis. Is that, it's all to extremes, much like political opinions are these days, complete extremes. Either the team is going nowhere because a guy dropped a pass in practice, or in this case, they are showing that like it was Marino to Duper. I mean, unbelievable. Like it was Joe Willie and Don Maynard in the 1968 AFC Championship game. 69, I guess it was. But, yeah, I mean, it was, one play in a practice session. It appeared to me that there was no defense. I didn't realize there was actually like some defenders that he shook off.
Yeah, there's a defender.
I do like, a couple of the concepts, though, that they have coming out of the Dolphins training camp, which, is much more of a modern mode of thinking and modus operandi. And that is shorter practices. Try and run what you're doing at full speed. This is Mike McDaniel philosophies that he is displaying here with the way that he's running the team so far. And, kind of practice like you're going to play. And then don't overdo it. And no reason to just be hanging out there. Now, the other thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if they're just eliminating all of the bad passes that are being thrown by Tua Tagovailoa with a local news coverage of the team or whatever you're seeing on ESPN. But this guy throws a dart. I mean, he really does.
Supposedly,
like a perfect spiral.
He threw into Waddle that was like 30 yards in the air in stride. Look, it's practice. That's the funny thing is I'm. It's the same thing. When it comes to the president gas, I don't give him credit when it goes down. I don't give him blame when it goes up. With this it's practice, like I expect it's only to be good. You're not getting touched. So if it's bad, that's why they blow up the bad. But again, things happen when you're trying new concepts. So maybe a quarterback and a receiver are off. Like Zach Wilson supposedly was horrendous the other day. But I'm not going to say, well, you need to get rid of him. He looked horrendous in that camp. Like, what do you like? They're trying new things. You're going to have mistakes. And if he looks great, it doesn't mean he's going to win the MVP, you know, like
it's also day to day. I mean, because you're saying that Wilson was horrible, and yet the article that I just kind of glanced at it today in the New York Post was that Wilson is already happy that he's living up to the high standards he holds himself to.
That's good. It was like Thursday.
Things are going well.
Slamming him, so maybe if they had a great day. I don't know. I don't care about any of it. I just think it's interesting the ebbs and flows. Like you're right. Like it's either that one pass we saw where Hill had to turn around and catch it like a punt, so Tua needed to be kicked off the team, and now this one pass, it was thrown so far in the air that it actually overthrew Hill, and now he's the greatest quarterback. Like to me, it's somewhere in the middle, and I think that's what we'll see. You know, like I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he'll show strides, and I think McDaniel. Look. What I like about McDaniel is that he, as much as he wants to be happy-go-lucky, fun guy, he doesn't shy away from any questions. Like he's not Flores. Like he answers everything with a well-thought-out, specific answer, which is the thing people in our business have been yearning for. Like a guy that actually gives a crap enough to respond and wants to get. He wants to. It's like Shula in a sense, where Shula wasn't mad. What was it? What Tony told us? Like when news came out, Shula wasn't scared of the news. He just wanted to know. Tell me, and I'll confront it. Like McDaniel wants to get out in front of things. It was like Flores was hiding under a rock a lot of the time, and he just wanted to like not know. He just wanted.
Always seemed angry. Always seemed angry. The press seemed like a public nuisance to him. And look, as we've said many times, what are the people that are writing about the Miami Dolphins or any team for that matter? What are they doing? They're giving you free and just endless reams and hours of promotion.
Yep.
And so, if you're trying to sell tickets, it might be good to, at least have some open avenues of communication with these guys. No, McDaniel handles himself very well with the press. Low key, but seems to be giving you like an honest opinion, even if it's a little bit existential. And you're thinking, what did he say? So is that guy going to start or not? Right? Where he's talking about all kinds of bizarre philosophical principles. No, I mean, he doesn't overdo that aspect of it. But Flores always seemed to be edgy and angry. Joe Philbin had nothing to say, even though he was very open and seemingly honest. But when he did finally tell you what he was really thinking, you thought, my God, how is this guy the head coach of the Miami Dolphins?
And that's the thing. Like Flores, you thought he could be the leader of men, and you thought he could be a head coach. I just wondered if it would work in this era and how long it would work in this era.
I wasn't sure about Flores ever. The remarkable thing was that his teams won at the end of the season after being horrible at the beginning. So you would think that was some kind of testament to the idea that the guy, was a coach that somehow is delivering a good message. Because, when you're 1-7, the odds that you're going to win 8 of your last 9 games, what were the chances of that? No matter how fluky they were, how close they were, how funky they were, it wasn't like the Dolphins blew you away and you said, wow, that's a really good team. But they won 8 of their last 9 games after, you talk about peeling yourself off the mat. When you're 1-7, you sort of develop that sparring partner mentality.
Yes. That
no matter what you do, you're going to, as we talk about all the time in some of these individual sports like tennis, where it's remarkable how many times that the upstart has a chance to knock off one of the real mainstay type of championship players, and they're serving for the match, and they lose that game. It's the only service game they lose.
Yeah.
Right. And you're thinking, how is this possible that the guy, in that moment, but it's a little bit of, that's why they're not number one, and why, a guy like Djokovic can hang in there against anybody, and no matter what's happening, finds a way to scratch out a victory. But there's a lot to be said, though. I mean, if you're the Miami Dolphins, and look, that year that they were just getting rid of guys, any guy who made a decent play was gone by that afternoon.
Like, no.
Maybe sometimes by halftime. Yeah. And they literally, were holding tryouts in the parking lot there. There was Chris Greer going, okay, okay, let's see you run the ball now.
Yeah, so Flores definitely deserved.
They were signing guys that were doing those little things they have outside the stadium, where they have those stupid activities where you throw a football and
Parking lot.
try to, throw it through like a, little,
The NFL
circle
experience.
there. Yeah. NFL experience. Yeah, they were signing guys out of that. And the guy still won like, 4 or 5 games at the end of this. What did he win? Like 5 of the last 9 at the end of this. Won 5 and 4.
That first year, yeah, and it was and
My
they were
God.
trying to lose. They were pissed, literally. Like we found out, they were pissed.
I couldn't figure out though. I mean, look, you usually see any team. You've been watching sports your whole life. If you're a fan of this show, and you're watching sports talk, shows in general, and involved in that, you can usually get a feel for what a coach's style is. No. I mean, after at least a reasonable period of time, you could sort of pinpoint, okay, this guy likes to do this in certain spots, or this is his style. He's aggressive. I couldn't figure out what Flores' style was.
Not
Could
on
you?
offense. Not on offense. That was my
Offense, yeah, impossible.
I never like at the end of the year, people high on him. They had gone 9-8, and he wasn't fired yet. And I was like, I don't know what to do with him because their offense doesn't get better. So
Yeah.
I don't. And he keeps messing around with coordinators. Like I just never understood it. But at least he presented himself like a coach. Philbin was just like, what? Like he would literally praise every game. He would praise the opponent. Whether the Dolphins won or lost, he'd be like, well, that was a good team we just played. Dude, you won. Like, what? They won 4 games. What are you talking about, Joe? Like, what's going on? Like,
Poor Smoking Joe, man. It was. I don't think he was misunderstood. He really was a very decent human being. I was at the press conference when he was being introduced. I guess it was sort of like an after, they had the press conference and then they had like a little party. And I remember doing a show from there. And
home still, yeah.
yeah, this might have been prior to. Were we working together? Yeah, I think we were.
Yes,
we were
yes.
on
We were at
940
home.
then.
We had the Dolphins. Remember that's when we would
Yeah.
still go do these
Right.
broadcasts and like
Did a lot of fakakta events that,
thing.
yeah, were meaningless to help promote the team. And Philbin didn't even come on the show. I mean, I was set up there at some banquet that they had, dinner that they had at the stadium as they were introducing Joe Philbin. And I remember seeing a guy, and I'm looking, and Don Shula had this line about Jim Mad Dog Manich, but for other reasons. Where if you asked Don Shula about when he first saw Jim Mad Dog Manich, and Manich would verify this, Manich shows up in a Volkswagen bus, with flowers painted on it and hair down to his shoulders, which was pretty uncommon for guys on an NFL squad at the time. I mean, you didn't see a lot of that. Maybe, Joe Willie was a forerunner for that. But, people were shocked. Like, what's this guy with a Beatle haircut doing out there on a football field? I mean, look, his hair is coming out the back of his helmet. And Shula looks at Mandich and turns to a coach that's beside him and says, "That's our number 1 pick." and that's what I felt when I saw Philbin walking through the room there. I was like, that's our head coach.
You're such a nice guy.
Assistant? Yeah, okay. Nice guy assistant. One of those guys you could go to and maybe get some information about the team, right? Hey, Joe, are we really going to run the ball 60% of the time this year? Yeah, but look for that, Defo. Nice enough guy, though, man. I'll never forget that when I thought he was going to chew us out after he suggests to us, so I hear you have a nickname for me. We're like, oh, shit, I felt like Jim Rome sitting at a desk with Jim Everett, right? Like, I thought he literally was going to hit me over the head with a chair, speaking of Ric Flair. And it turned out he dug it, man, being called Smoking Joe Smoking Joe Philbin. We had songs about him, all kinds of stuff. And still, I'll never get over it. I mean, it was talk about training camp experiences. I don't know that I've ever had anything like that, where the entire defensive coaching staff does an impression of the Defo show.
Yep.
Including a guy who does you, which was amazing. Yeah, I don't know.
I was early days too.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Case was one that we were sort of fooled on because the people from Denver liked him.
Yeah.
But quick on in his tenure, you could tell he was sort of weird. Like I know this guy's just different. There's something about McDaniel. Maybe we just longing to have a coach that we like because it's been such a long list of weirdos.
Either that or he's one of the great con men of all time.
I don't
Like one of those guys that really has no idea what he's doing on the job and has convinced people that he knows what he's doing. Which, and look, the Dolphins were all in, supposedly. I mean, the story goes, and people seem to have some kind of verification of this, that they were all in, ready to give Sean Payton like $20 million to coach the team for like 4 years or whatever it was. Not even, what was it? It was going to be like $20 million a season or something, $100 million they were going to give this guy. And wanted to have Tom Brady as their quarterback, an aging Tom Brady. Talk about Ric Flair. What if Brady turns into Ric Flair in that match this year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Is that even remotely possible, Mike Lubie Lubitz, that Tom Brady, after we've been predicting this for the last 10 years, starts to show signs that he's a completely shot fighter and ends up signing with the Live Tour himself just so he can cash a paycheck every week? What do you think?
I don't see the Live Tour thing. I look, I've been waiting for it for a long time. I feel like this is the year, and him losing his center, which will probably for most of the season, can't be good for them. Offensive line is always the most important thing for any quarterback, especially Brady. Brady doesn't want any contact. He doesn't try to run. He doesn't try to sit back there. He gets rid of it quickly or he goes down. Without their center, who's a Pro Bowl center, I think that should affect their line. I mean, they have every skill position guy under the sun, but if you can't block for him, then yeah, I'm expecting this year to see him finally show his age. But we've said that for, like you just said, a decade.
Yeah,
So,
we've been saying that for 10 years here and writing this guy off. And, he still, statistically last year, he was excellent. And, as you said, Libby, obviously the key to any quarterback's demise would be excessive pressure. But Brady is especially affected by pressure. If you can get, any kind of penetration into the passing game up front by the defensive line, you got a pretty good chance to beat Tom Brady. Who's going to be good this year, though, Louis? What are you looking at? I mean, Green Bay doesn't have their top receiver.
I think
the Raiders were knocking on the door last year. They pick up Adams, so that has to be a plus.
Well, I think they got. Did they signed what, Chandler Jones? The Raiders.
Yeah, I mean they went for it.
They all went in that division.
They banished Mike Mayock to football purgatory. Where is Mike Mayock? Is he going to surface as an announcer on Amazon?
I haven't seen him anywhere.
Cash in on some of this big money that's out there. There has to be a hole somewhere in the college football coverage with your man Herb Street now going to be on the National Football League.
Well, he's doing both. Herb Street's still going to do
Yeah.
the big game for ESPN on Saturdays. I think the Saints are going to be interesting. Like, you get Michael Thomas back. They brought in the kid Olave out of Ohio State, who's ridiculous. They'll get Kamara back. And Jameis was good until he got hurt. And it looks fully healthy and motivated. That team, I mean, there's no Peyton, but it feels like they have sort of a system there that they're just going to keep going with. I think the Saints are going to, and no one's counting on them. And their defense was legit. Like, no one's expecting anything from them because they forgot about them. Because after Jameis, they were a disaster. I think the Saints are going to be really good. And I think people are going to go, oh, yeah, the Saints. Like, I think that's a team that's going to be interesting. I think the Bucs are getting overrated. People think the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, we see in year 3 or 4 of these things.
I'm going to bet against that. I'm going to bet against the Bucs winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I think
false favorite if they are the favorites. I don't think they are the favorites, though. Now the Rams' chances of repeating. Are we overlooking the obvious here?
Oh my God, I didn't realize the Rams got Allen Robinson. Like, the Rams are going to be ridiculous. Like, the Rams should be the favorite out of the NFC. They bring Donald back. Everyone's got paid. Everyone's happy. They get Cam Akers back, who was huge for them until he got hurt. Like, the Rams are going to be, and now Stafford is considered a top quarterback suddenly, even though he's been the same guy his whole career. So, like, yeah, the Rams are going to be really good. And the Niners, if Trey Lance is really what the Niners think he is, the Niners are loaded. Like, and now Debo Samuel got his
what do
deal.
you think? I mean, is he what they think he is? I don't know that I saw those signs. Did you?
No, not at all. But we barely saw Trey Lance. Like,
if they were in place, why wouldn't they have played him over an injured Garoppolo?
Because he was a guy that was super raw. So you wanted to at least give him 1 year to learn, and I give them credit for that. They're really excited about him. Like, Jimmy G's on their roster, and they've already said, yeah, Lance is our guy.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even
it's his team. I mean, Shanahan's statement, which no, but everybody knows that they were trying to ditch Garoppolo, and it's interesting. There have to be teams that would be, at least perceived to be better off by having Garoppolo, who did have shoulder surgery And, by the way, it was deemed to be successful, Lubie. You'll find that surprising.
There you go.
When is that going to happen, man? Is it going to happen in my lifetime where a doctor gets up after, a surgery on a big-time, big-name athlete and says, oh, my God, man, this guy will never play again, man. We butchered this. This was the worst surgical procedure that you've ever seen. I don't even know how I have a medical license after doing this. And there's a likelihood he will not even be able to pick up a football again, much less throw it. You don't hear that very often, do you? It's always successful shoulder surgery, and then the guy comes back, and he looks as ineffective as he could possibly be for the outset from the outset, and then ultimately retires. Right? Always successful though, shoulder surgery. Anyway, I mean, with a repaired shoulder, if that is indeed the case, and he was playing with whatever injury he had that required this surgery, Garoppolo, and he wasn't horrendous, but I don't know that he was on top of his game. And he's also a guy that is he not eligible to get better, Jimmy Garoppolo, or have we seen the best of him so far?
I think we have. I mean, I think
He hasn't played that many games, really. I mean, by comparison to some of the veteran quarterbacks that you would judge to be at the top of the game. So I don't know. Does he deserve a little more time before you pass final judgment on whether or not he's legit? I kind of hope the guy lands somewhere and does well. I really do. Seems like outside of the fact that I don't believe that he eats Subway sandwiches with Steph Curry and Serena. Oh, who's Subway kidding with that, right? I mean, come on.
I like the Belichick. That was my favorite. It's like
Belichick
probably does actually Subway, but I still
You
never.
don't think Belichick is going to some sandwich shop, in Boston somewhere that puts out something absolutely scrumptious, but he instead is going to Subway with all of the options that he has there in Beantown, where he could send for anything, right? He could tell Bobby Kraft to go get him lunch anywhere, couldn't he?
Oh, for sure.
Right. Bob shows up in the blue shirt with the white collar. Hey, look at that. It's Bobby Kraft here at Subway.
Subway. in person.
Serena, I can believe, was, spending a lot of time at Subway. But would you like to try a vegetable sandwich? No, I mean, is she going to come back in better shape here? She's going to play pretty soon.
I don't think so.
And playing one of the prelims for the U.S. Open, which is right around the corner here. One of the, I don't know. Should that be on my bucket list? Everybody says yes, Lubie, to go to at least one night of the U.S. Open in tennis, being the big tennis
I always wanted to
fan
go to Wimbledon. I never cared about the U.S. Open. Wimbledon always seemed like,
it's less of a schlep, though, to go to New York. I mean,
yes, that's true.
Let's be honest about it. Probably far less costly also. Although with this merger, JetBlue and Spirit Airlines, is that it? Do we say goodbye to the $9 flight on Spirit?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. Like, are they? I haven't heard. Are they getting rid of Spirit, or are they just going to profit off Spirit? Like, I don't know.
No, I think Spirit will still exist as Spirit Airlines, but it'll be in tandem there with then maybe run by JetBlue, which always seemed like a very efficient airlines to me. By comparison, far more reliable than Spirit was.
Oh, good.
Although my experiences with Spirit, outside of the fact that, what is it? I mean, when they sit you down, if you got arrested and they sit you down in one of those metal chairs, they're more comfortable than.
I don't think their chairs go back. I know the professor has his theories where you should never put a chair back. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, as long as you have someone who's 6'5" behind you, like, why wouldn't you put your chair back? But I don't think there's go back. Like, the last 2 times I've been on a Spirit flight, I don't think they even go recline. I think
in fact, they force you to hunch over.
Yeah.
They only go forward, the seats in Spirit.
So I don't know. Spirit, I've never had major issues with it, but it's just not comfortable, like, at all.
I still want to dispute that weigh-in, man. When this woman weighed that bag and it was 5 pounds over the limit for an extra 50 right there. What do you want to do about it, sir? Next, while you're deciding, next.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, we better just fork over to 50. I mean, I talk about a ski mask and a gun right there at the counter, and then the bag never weighed more than 45 pounds after that.
Right.
Never. We were in Europe. We were picking stuff up. I mean, all over the planet there, and somehow this woman had us weighing in, at the heavyweight limit. Unbelievable. Holy Don King. I mean, what was that all about? That's just, Are they encouraging you, management, like all of their employees, to make sure you whack everybody for every penny? Is that the way that works?
Yeah.
Because you always, you feel like, they're just like, it's ridiculous, right? Like, if you open up the overhead bin to even look to see if there's space there, That's $10. I saw you. You opened it. All right, and that thing that measures the size of the bag there, that's legal and not, in terms of within the parameters, the guidelines of what they consider to be a carry-on. You could not fit your wallet in there. So who are they kidding with that?
Oh yeah, that thing's a joke.
Unbelievable. All right. Coming up with more, Lesley Visser going to join us shortly here on the program. That should be a lot of fun, and we'll get her thoughts on Bill Russell, his career, and obviously she was very close to Bill Russell throughout her brilliant career, which began in Boston. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, maybe there are detractors of Bill Russell somewhere, but I don't see how there could be after watching these tributes that took place yesterday. I mean, and you're saying to yourself, wow, I mean, this guy, for everything that he went through, to win 11 out of 13 years that you're in the league, there were other good players around at the time, Lubie. It's not like Bill Russell and the Celtics had a great team, obviously, or they wouldn't have been able to accomplish this, but did they necessarily have all of the best players in basketball on that team? No.
I don't know. They definitely were loaded. You had Havlicek as a 6-man. I mean, they Red was allowed to do a lot of things that a lot weren't allowed to do. And I'm like, when you look at what Larry Bird was well known, and they did some weird thing.
Yeah. Well, the early Bird rule, I mean, being an example of
thing,
perhaps some favoritism. Yeah.
Red got away with a lot of stuff. I mean, that's just sort of documented.
Red would pull off these trades that were just amazing. And you would ask yourself if the league just wasn't, sending certain players, the Celtics way. But no, I mean, there were less teams in the league. I mean, this is true of hockey also. You used to see like the fourth line come over the wall there, and there were guys that were going to the Hall of Fame. But when they only had 6 teams in the league, what did they have back then? Did they have 16 teams in the NBA? So your talent pool was not nearly as thinned out, and there was more talent on every team. It was better distributed. Although the Celtics obviously were superior, but I mean, it wasn't like there was no competition. For the Boston Celtics to win 11 of 13. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. All right, Lesley Visser coming up in just a few moments here on the program. That should be a lot of fun. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubitz. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Wow, month of August coming up. Long, hot, schwitzing days here in Broward and Dade County, and if you're in Palm Beach. And then, of course, if you're traveling from outside the state of Florida and you're looking for a place to go and have just an unbelievably brilliant vacation spot, it's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. That's in Key Largo. Doesn't that sound good? A little staycation here, Lubie? Never mind Spirit Airlines and being crammed into a seat like you were being herded with a flock of sheep. You're better off going down to the Big Chill there, where you can spread your wings a little bit and have yourself a great time. Have some great cocktails, tremendous food and drink. We often say that we have to, and we will. We'll schlep the Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo down there for one of those Italian fisherman pizzas and all of the great delicacies that you can get. A lot of unique stuff at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And if you're into more conventional things, I mean, mahi-mahi and all of the fish dishes, the seafood dishes, right out of the ocean there. You have the beautiful view on the bay side, music going all day long. Live bands. I mean, they wheeled it in. I thought Jimmy Johnson was like Bill Graham there. It was like going to the Fillmore East, or one band after another. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Jimi Hendrix up next. Incredible. And then Dominic Kajemi, John's brother, is brilliant in the kitchen there. And his lovely wife, Amanda, wow, they do a tremendous job. Service is top-notch. People are always on top of their game there, as you would imagine, with the coach involved. And we're hoping to get down there pretty soon and have Jimmy on the show. So we're looking very much forward to that. You'll love it anytime. If you're just going down to the Keys, any destination, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, stick around. We'll talk some more and have our own tribute here to Bill Russell and his passing. And no, I did not have him in the Deadpool. I can't believe how many people ask if I have him in the Deadpool. The first text that came in was from Mayo. It just said, "Did you have him?" I said, "Have what?"
No.
I'm thinking, I don't even know who I have in the Deadpool at this point. It was it, though. Somebody took ours down with James Caan.
Oh,
So,
really?
so that was that. So, yeah, redraw names. I think I had Rosalind Carter in the Deadpool. I'm not rooting for her death. I mean, look, it's not what it appears to be in terms of evil, Lubie. You think even the Greek thought this was a
Yes.
sick thing, and he's a sick bastard in his
He
own
bet
right.
on some really crazy shit. He used to bet on elevators in Vegas.
Yeah,
And even he was like, yeah, you can't do that.
it's very popular, Louis. Much more popular than you might imagine.
I'm sure.
And you know, better bet I think than going into like the Mega Millions or the Powerball.
Oh, and you saw someone hit 1.2 billion. One person.
Imagine
hit
it at some
Illinois.
gas station in like Indiana or wherever. I mean, holy Larry Bird, what the hell's going on? I mean, but you had to take a shot at it. It was worth the $20 that I threw to the win. Actually, it turned out to be 40 because I got in on the Tuesday drawing and it was like 800 million.
Yeah.
And you have no chance, right? I mean, 0.0. But what if it was your lucky day, Lubie?
That's the thing. If you don't play,
I already have my speech prepared, my acceptance speech. Although I don't want anybody to know, I wouldn't want a soul to know that I had won this thing. No.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is Shirley and I were watching different stuff about how you're supposed to win it. Like, there's a whole format of if you're smart when you win, what you do. Like, you don't tell anyone. You get a trust. You get an attorney. You do all these things, and because in Florida, for 3 months they don't release the name, but eventually they will release the name. So you have to act really fast to cover your ass so that whatever name they release cannot be yours. If you have a trust, have an attorney, then they can redirect the name and make it not you. Like, you don't tell anyone because they come hounding, and that's how that people can try and rob you. Like, that would be my
what do you do? You go and get a safe deposit box at the bank?
Do a whole thing. Yes, there's like a whole, like, if you look up online, lottery, there's like a strategy to win it the right way so you don't get totally screwed.
I'm always curious about these guys, and you see a lot of this also where guys hit the lottery for like 20 million and then they're broke. They're like living on the streets. Now, how do you go through that much capital? I would imagine you might have like a Tank Black situation where you're making these investments for you, and you're just getting fleeced while the guy's out there on a yacht in San Tropez with babes and bikinis. And your money's going up in smoke. But I would think you should be able to get out, in one piece with 20 million, no? Unless, as I said, unless you fall in love with Robin Givens and Ruth Roper is still around. Wow, what they did to Tyson. He was so catatonic on that couch there with Barbara Walters. I'll never forget that. Mike Tyson, the most feared man on the planet at the time, in terms of just raw fisticuffs and power. And he's like, yes, I abused her. And Roper, you could see her with a calculator out, just, counting up the money that she was transferring into Swiss bank accounts. It was incredible. While Barbara Walters is sitting there trying to evoke all of this emotion testimony about what a bitter and, creepy person Mike Tyson was. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment, and we'll add some distinction to the show, which I think is necessary at this point, by bringing on the lovely and talented Lesley Visser, as kind enough to join us here and talk about Bill Russell, who, I don't know, Sam Jones was their all-time favorite, right?
Yes.
Halloween, Sam Jones, number 24. And Sam was one of my favorites all time. And then when I had the pleasure of meeting him, he couldn't have been any more of a delight. A very different personality than Bill Russell. It just shows you what kind of diversity they had on those Celtic teams, but blended everything together. I'll never forget. I mean, Russell, with just one hand on the ball, fires it down the court, streaking Havlicek at the midcourt stripe. He would dish off to somebody, go in for a layup, and the fast break was born, my friend. The beginning is the roots of Showtime. We're right there, and where the work of the imagination of the great Bill Russell. All right, coming back with more here on the show. It's the Defo Show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
What was the gourmet eating? He was eating like a meatloaf sandwich or something somewhere in this guy.
Oh, really? I don't know. He posts a lot of food stuff over the weekend. I'm like, I don't even eat that much a week.
Like, it would take you years to eat this stuff. Seriously, if you were about to walk the Green Mile, you still couldn't put food away like Mayo's been doing. I respect him, man. I don't know how he does it. It's 8:23. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Lesley Visser, a lovely and talented one. I mean, the first woman and for a long time, the only woman, there are now two, in the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, in there with all of the greats, Johnny U, Joe Willie, all of our favorites, Joe Montana, the great Dan Marino, and Lesley Visser, part of the scene in the NFL Hall of Fame. But what level of distinction is it to be the first guest on our new program? Because I would imagine, Lesley Visser, and by the way, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us here on the program.
Is this an after-school special?
This isn't practice. We're doing it. We're all over the world.
Congratulations to you guys. I want to know. I'm so proud to be your first guest. And, of course, I have a number of things to go over that maybe this time it could be different. You know, isn't that the gambler's creed?
You think we can erase the past all at once here in one program? It's impossible.
The modern-day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on the Defo Show. Lesley Visser going to join us via video stream also here on South Florida Live in just a few minutes. And we'll get her thoughts and recollections and do some reminiscing about the great Bill Russell, whom she got to know throughout her career. And Bill was at her wedding to Dick Stockton when she married Dick Stockton, famous sportscaster many, many years ago. In fact, wow, there she is looking resplendent, as always, and looking like she might have just gone and shot a couple of rounds at Indian Creek Country Club. Can we bring her on, the lovely and talented Lesley Visser? Lesley, how are you? You look great.
Wait a second,
You sound good.
but I'm in the waiting.
You're on.
Wait a minute, I'm in the waiting room over here.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as being on this show, but yeah, Lubie's going to bring you in here. By the way,
No, but
some breaking news.
Wait a second, but you
yeah.
get the feedback. How can I get rid of the feedback?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go. That's a good question. Maybe we'll take a minute and work on that. The breaking news, of course, Deshaun Watson, a 6-game suspension. 6-game suspension.
There.
Just handed
Okay.
down. Okay, better?
Should be
No,
there.
want me to go away? All right, I'm going to go away.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying.
All right. We'll keep trying it.
I don't know what else to do.
All right.
Same thing.
Technology being what it
I'm
is.
like you're on. I don't know.
All right. We may have to, do that via telephone here and at least get the audio of the lovely and talented Lesley Visser if we can't work that problem out. Deshaun Watson, 6 games. People are going to say that's pretty light. And I don't know that, can he appeal that or get it reduced after a period of time? Take 3 on Lesley?
She's there. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Are you still
She's
getting feedback, Leslie?
feeling it.
I'm afraid to talk in case it comes back to me, but it doesn't seem to. It seems okay.
Oh,
Wonderful.
beautiful. Well, how are you, by the
Good
way?
morning.
Now that we've got
I didn't
through
count.
the technical nightmare and the gremlins here on the show. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really glad that I haven't been on in a while, so I haven't really kept up with Ric Flair. But thank you for talking about him for
Yeah.
45 minutes.
You imagine it? I mean, how can anybody have licensed that? What state athletic commission to allow a guy that has had 4 heart surgeries and a kidney transplant?
Yeah, we've heard enough about Ric
Yeah.
Flair. It was a joke.
All right, now I don't know. I mean, at what point in your career were you introduced to the great Bill Russell? Because you were at the Globe there with a brilliant staff, and tell us about your original experience of meeting and befriending the great Bill Russell.
Uh, let's see. Of course, I watched him as a child. Like you guys know, Sam Jones was my guy, but
Yeah.
Bill Russell, was certainly epic on and off the court. And the interesting thing about if you grew up in Boston, I think I was in high school before the Celtics lost.
Wow.
And you know what they did? If you were raised in Boston, you grew up with the team ethic. That's how you thought people played because, of course, Russell, he only averaged 16 points a game. He could have averaged more, but he won 11 titles in 13 years. As he always said, yeah, I know the Yankees have won 28, but it took them 100 years. But so, I saw him at a few games, but then definitely at the Globe, I started to get to know him. And then he was Dick's partner on NBA games for a few years. So, I really had the privilege of riding with him. You'd have the car service going to and from the game and, a dinner here or there. And he just, his intellect shone actually above his physical skills. I think that's what created the opportunities for him. And he truly looked at basketball as playing for the other people, which was great as a child, to see that, to watch
Yeah.
that's how it played. And he was very, he would talk often about civil rights. I remember him once telling me that his uncle, who was born and raised in the segregated South, you probably know Bill was born in Monroe, Louisiana. His family, after being harassed, moved to Oakland, where he also was harassed. But I remember Bill saying his uncle, who stayed in Louisiana, got emotional because he went to see the Celtics play, and he said to Bill, I never thought I'd see water running down a black man standing next to a white man. And he was talking about seeing Havlicek and Sam Jones in the showers after the game.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and he was harassed even in Boston. I saw Jackie McMullen, who you know obviously very well, and she was brilliant in talking about Bill Russell on ESPN last night. Many great tributes to Bill Russell, and she was talking about how when he moved to the suburbs of Boston, they defaced his home, and he just shrugged his stuff off somehow. Although it would be easy to see how he could have become embittered by it all, but somehow he managed to handle himself always with grace, class, and dignity, and he did go through Jackie Robinson type of stuff, even playing for the Celtics as a star in that city.
Yeah, absolutely. Boston was formed, of course, in the 1600s as a city of neighborhoods, and they were geographically divided so that the north end were the Italians, the south end were the Irish, Roxbury was on its own, and they really did not mingle. And it was a racist city when he came, even though, as the cradle of liberty. But it definitely, he lived in Reading, as Jackie noted. His house was vandalized and it was defaced. But he loved the Celtics. He said it took him a long time to play for Boston, but he always loved the Celtics.
And to your point about team play, that one of the things that came up last night was that they had designed to play for him because he wasn't that much of a prolific scorer, and was always being compared to Will Chamberlain, who was capable of going off for 100 on any given night, and usually was in the 30s, 40s, 50s. An average like 40 points a game. It seemed like for a season, and Bill's average lifetime was like 15.6. But they said they designed a play for him so he could score more, and they called it the number 6. And then Russell's, take on it was that he was the 5th option on his own play because he would always pass the ball off.
Well, he changed the game. I mean, how many people, Lawrence Taylor changed the game, but very few. Bill Russell made basketball a vertical game. Before that, it was, well, 2 things. Before him, defense was sort of a curiosity. So he made it that you must play defense. And also until then, remember the centers were, just kind of big white guys who took up space. I
Yeah.
remember Bill Russell's very first game in '56. Of course, he joined the Celtics 2 months late because he won the gold medal in Melbourne. And he came, and the first time Red put him in a game, it was against the Hawks. And he played only, like 17 minutes, but he had like 16 rebounds, and he blocked Pettit 3 times. So people right then said, oh my gosh, this is going to be a different game.
Well, he also had the instincts. Every now and then you'll see like a boxer who's a great counterpuncher, and just watching some of the highlights of his block shots. I mean, he had tremendous instincts and the ability to immediately adjust after a ball was dished off, and he would come away from his own man. Maybe he was guarding Wilt, and then come up with a block from behind. And I don't know that anybody's had those shot blocking instincts in the history of the game before, certainly, and maybe ever since.
No, I don't think for people who didn't get to see Bill Russell, it's really hard to describe him. I mean, he would do one of 2 things. Either he would block the shot, and not just block it, but direct it. As Red always said, he wasn't blocking it into the 3rd row.
Yeah.
Or he would time the jump so that if it missed, he would go up for the rebound. And he was, and he was a consummate human being, a man off the court. John Thompson had the great line that Bill Russell did it when he had the most to lose. He
Yep.
didn't talk about civil rights decades later. He did it at the time when our country was very divided. It was a very divisive time. But, as you know, he marched with Martin Luther King. He had a front row seat for the I Have a Dream speech. He stood up for Muhammad Ali. He was a really, truly brave, socially conscious man.
Well, and he did his whole life, right? Like even Jim Brown in recent years, we've seen Jim Brown sort of do a 180. I mean, like he supported a man a lot of us would never support. Like Bill Russell did it when it could have cost him everything. And even when he was older, and we see even Kareem is sort of taking a step back. Bill Russell was at the forefront to his last days. Like he really felt getting the word out and supporting change was one of his most important. It wasn't basketball. It was just being a good human. And that's something the tributes were outpouring yesterday, but it was we were watching CNN at Shirley's parents, and that's all they talked about with Bill Russell. Like it wasn't a basketball figure. He was a human figure that helped make this country a better place.
Yes, no, absolutely, Lubie. And you may have heard the story. Will Chamberlain was not that socially active in his early years, but after the death of Martin Luther King, the very next night, the 76ers and the Celtics had a playoff game, and Russell and Chamberlain talked about, should we call the game off? Our heart is not in this. The Celtics had 7 blacks. The 76ers had 6 black players. They decided to play it, but 2 days later, Russell and Chamberlain together went down to Atlanta to the Ebenezer Baptist Church to Martin Luther King's service. And Will Chamberlain said he changed. That day he changed.
I always hear Russell in my head with Dick Stockton saying, now that was a high percentage shot. And then he would give that cackle. All right, you had social outings, as you said, with Bill Russell, and he came across. Obviously, you would think. I mean, with the warmth that we're seeing exhibited towards him, and sometimes it seemed like he might have been a little bit distant with the press, although it wasn't like he shut them out in Belichick type fashion. But he sort of was selective in that way. But what was he like on a social scene and going out to have dinner with?
Well, he was an aloof man, and he didn't, if he thought that you weren't a critical thinker, he really had no time. He did not care what anybody else thought of him. And I always remember if you called him at home, he lived, of course, in Mercer Island up in Seattle all those years, and his answering machine would say, you'd call him up and it would be picked up, and you'd hear, if I wanted to talk to you, I would have called you.
That sounds like something you would have on your machine. What are you talking about?
Just for you, my sweetie.
Of course, we're talking with NFL Hall of Famer and one of the greats of all time in the broadcasting business, the lovely and talented Lesley Visser. Very close relationship. How did he behave at the wedding? Was he as in bad form as Jersey Kyle and I were when you married the Duke?
Well, I could say.
And you had Red Auerbach there too? I mean,
Yes.
what was Red like in these situations?
They had a little more dignity, I would say, than you and Jersey did, sharing the tuxedo in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know what was amazing about it was, people just couldn't believe in Boston that, they didn't care about Dick and me getting married. It was, oh my God, there's Bill Russell and Red Auerbach over by the shrimp bowl. But, as you know, Russ didn't give autographs. Matter of fact, one time Dick made a bet with him, and it was, I forget how much money, but they decided they would settle it by a check, and Dick insisted on that because that way he got Bill Russell's autograph.
The cackle was also, I mean,
Yeah.
a signature characteristic of Bill Russell. And it was on high display and frequent display when he was doing the broadcasting. And then he becomes a player coach. I mean, it's one thing to be a coach and win 2 championships in 3 years, but to also be a player on that team, I don't know. Well, what are your recollections of those 3 years of Celtic basketball, where Bill Russell, broke the color barrier as the first ever black head coach in any professional sport, and I think it was like light years ahead of even Frank Robinson becoming the first, black manager in Major League Baseball, and a long time before we saw a black head coach in the NFL. But what are your recollections of those years and the way Russell handled it?
Well, I'll tell you actually from a different perspective. When he took over, he only coached Seattle, right, for a year, I think. And
Yeah, it's, Seattle and Sacramento, he was a head coach also.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I just remember him telling me when he coached, he only was at, I think, Seattle for a year.
Yeah.
And I said, what happened? And his answer was, I tried to treat my players like myself. Problem is, most of them weren't.
And that was the other thing, legendary part of the story. I mean, here's what you would figure would be kind of a hard-ass, old-school coach in Red Auerbach, and yet he had a special treatment where Russell would, sit out practices, and his teammates didn't mind because they knew that he would do everything possible to help the team win, and that's what he was all about.
Well, he only had one speed, so even in practice, he played so hard. But it was everyone so respected each other, and on that team, you could not. He expected full commitment, and he played that way. And it was difficult. He and Kuzi had a problem. They weren't close for a long time, and then the last book Kuzi wrote, called The Last Pass, which he wrote about, it was an apology in there to Bill Russell, that Kuzi felt he hadn't handled it well enough when Russell was facing all the racism, that Kuzi kind of sat it out. And it's sort of funny, it's so telling of Bill Russell. So he wrote the book, and then afterwards, Kuzi wrote a letter to Bill Russell just saying, look, I know it's so late in the game, but I just want you to know that I really feel ashamed that I did not do more to support you. And 2 years later, Kuzi's phone rang, and it was Bill Russell. And Kuzi said, well, did you get the letter? And Russell said, yeah, I got it. I think the position of the big man in the NBA now has so changed.
That's great.
And they just went on.
Yeah, it's funny too, because people always want to, try to figure out could some player from the past who was brilliant like a Bill Russell fit into today's game. And you would have to think with his athleticism, even though this is a position that's been sort of diminished in its importance because of the emphasis of even these big men shooting outside. You couldn't have imagined Bill Russell standing out there hoisting threes all night.
Well, I don't know about that part, but you're right. Now Kevin Durant, has mastered the three. But I don't think anybody still would have want to gone down the lane and face that block. So
No,
I think great is great. I think
yeah.
people find a way to be great no matter what era they're in, if they're great.
All right, brilliant stuff, and it was nice to see all of these tributes. I thought there were many really well-related tributes to Bill Russell, including your brother Chris. Had a sensational little thing that he wrote on Facebook. I don't know if he put that out on any other platforms, but and many people were moved and said, "Wow, that's really fantastic." So he obviously felt very close to Bill Russell as well. The news came out just before you came on about Deshaun Watson, and we're getting ready for another NFL season. Any impression of that, or is it just something that the vagaries of the case are such that? I mean, who's to know if the NFL made a correct determination?
Did Sue Robinson say that he had violated the code of conduct?
Yes, he violated the conduct. 6
Yeah.
games.
Six
For 6
game
games?
suspension. Yeah.
I think when they got Deshaun, they figured 4 to 6.
Oh, really?
And
Because I was thinking a year.
I think that's no, I think that's what the Browns were thinking.
Yeah.
I think they thought, kind of 4 to 6, we can live with that. It's not disappointing because every woman has a right to do what she wants, but didn't he settle with all but one of them?
All but one.
So
Yeah.
there was less for Sue Robinson, probably in some ways to consider. But I wouldn't please to talk about him after Bill Russell. I think that's
Yeah. It's a
kind
big
of
switcheroo.
shameful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's just it's always going to be an issue with the NFL, and what are their real sensitivities about women. And many people feel like that they might be paying lip service to a lot of this. I don't know. Do you think there will be outrage on the part of women followers of the NFL, or do people just not care?
Well, I think usually the impact of something is if it has video, which remember
Yeah.
Ray
Yep.
Rice, that
That's
they
true.
really
Yeah.
took
Yeah,
a strong stand on domestic violence. So without any video here, I think people can either continue to be troubled by it, or they can say, well, 23 of the 24 settled. So
exactly.
I think it'll be how he does probably on the field, which
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting year in the NFL. I'm excited for it.
A lot of change around the National Football League, including what seems to be an infusion of enthusiasm on the part of Miami Dolphin players. Have you met this Mike McDaniel? And if not, I mean, we know that he was successful as part of Shanahan's staff in San Francisco. Seemed to have some ideas that were innovative, and certainly is an odd departure from the typical NFL coach. Have you met this guy or had a chance to talk to him yet?
I've been in a room where he's spoken, but I haven't spoken one-on-one with him. But he reminds me of, remember Mark Trestman, how interesting Mark Trestman was? That's kind of who he reminds me of. I mean, he's very interesting, remains to be seen. But I think it's great for Tua that it's an offensive coach. It didn't really work with him having a defensive coach.
No, and we were saying earlier, and I've said this before. I never really could, you can kind of sense what a coach's style is. I never really got a sense of what Brian Flores was trying to do offensively. I mean, maybe he felt like he didn't have a team that he could pull off anything that he really wanted to with. But I never really had any kind of sense of what this guy was trying to do. It was a very hard offense to figure out.
Well, you don't see many defensive head coaches now. It's gone largely toward offense. So, but I've gotten to know Brian pretty well. His story is astonishing, right? Stepping over heroin addicts, in where he was raised. So, I think as a person, he's very unique. And there's a guy who stood up for what he believed. But I think maybe his best efforts are being a defensive assistant.
Yeah, maybe so. And he comes to town here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, in October. So a lot of interesting stuff on the horizon. But it's nice to see. I mean, you've been around Miami a long time to actually see some enthusiasm coming from the Dolphins players about the upcoming season as opposed to the usual, well, I don't know, we got to beat the Bills.
Remember the last billboards we saw about football was when on 95 was when Greg Schiano was trying to
Yes.
recruit Miami players for Rutgers. Hey, before we each go, do you have a pick for the Whitney? I'm headed up to Saratoga.
Oh, I don't know
which
who's
we
in the
do
Whitney.
not call Toga. Please do not call it Toga. And we do not call it Frisco. Please don't call it Frisco.
What is the occasion here that is bringing you to Saratoga?
What are you doing there?
I'm green with jealousy and envy. I'm green anyway because it was a rough weekend. But no. I mean, what's going on there?
I just have some friends. I try to go up once a year, and
Oh, yeah?
it's
Okay.
also Patino will be there. It's the sales on
Patino,
Monday.
nice.
So
Nice.
he'll be there.
When are you leaving for Toga? I mean, Saratoga.
Nobody calls it that unless you're some guys and dolls loser, please. And by the way, now that I'm on this, Frankie Fiore and I, would you please change that poster behind you so it's hanging correctly, not backwards?
Oh, that is backwards.
Seriously,
I think that's
Frankie
like some
Fiore,
kind of camera thing,
Well,
No?
then get a different poster because Frankie.
I mean, if
said
you look
no-
at it from, if you're staring at it.
Well, we're
it's-
not looking. Well, we
Correct.
see it every day. And Frankie said
Yeah.
to me, "Why can't he turn that thing around?" So please fix it. All right, that's it. You
All
have
right,
no
that-
pick
that's
for
good.
the Whitney.
And you
All
didn't see
right.
the Flair match, huh? All right.
We got you.
Why do I bother? Goodbye.
We
Really.
both asked that question. But thank
Go
you for doing it.
away.
Send our love to the Duke.
Thank you so much for being with us. I always feel like it's the last time she's signing off, and I hate to think that, All right, a little insight into Bill Russell here. Lesley Visser, fantastic on that.
She's the best.
Wow, I mean, it was hard not to have just a massive dose of respect for this man. I mean, even if you didn't like the Celtics, hated him, we did refrain. He offered his services today to give his opinion about Bill Russell, the professor.
Minutes after I found out,
Yeah.
before I could even wrap my head around it, I got a text from him.
Body
"All right,
wasn't even
I'll
cold.
talk to you guys
Yeah.
tomorrow."
Who thinks that Bill Russell was the most overrated player of all time? Overrated. And all of this talk about what work he did to try and advance the civility of the human race, that was bogus too. I don't know. Does he think that? I'm not sure.
We have never gotten into his off the court adventures. Just on the court, he feels like he was a glorified Rodman. That's what he that's what he feels
A
like.
glorified Rodman. All right.
He's great defensively, great at rebounding, but
His shot was, nothing, that you're going to say was going to come out of a textbook. It
In
wasn't
this
like
day
he
and
was
age-
flicking in jumpers like he was Sam Jones going to the bank.
the offense is a bigger deal, and he never did offense. I just know, like Lesley said it, like we don't know what that guy would have been in a different era. Like that's all he was asked to do. Coming out of San Francisco, he did like everything, and he didn't have to do that with the Celtics.
I think he could have scored more points. He
But
just
that's the
wasn't
thing, like-
inclined to really be that interested in it. And if you look and see a lot of the highlights, he had all of these weird maneuvers under the basket there. He'd come up underhand and do all kinds of stuff. Was very agile by comparison to some of the other big white slug centers, unless he didn't say that exactly. But, let's face it. She was thinking Billy Pauls in the big picture. What was he, the grouper, the flounder?
I don't know.
I want to say he was the flounder, but he wasn't. The Whopper. What was that? What Billy Pauls was? The Whopper?
I've never heard that name before you, so I don't know what the hell Billy Pulse was.
Billy Pauls, man. St. John's. Come on. Luke Arneseka.
There you go.
Who's, oh, by the way, I saw that thing, New York City Point Guards.
Yeah, did
Pretty
you actually
good.
watch it?
Very
watched
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was sort of a weird thing because it went from one guy to another, and it was a lot of hyperbole, but it was interesting. I mean, it had some great clips in there, including Pearl Washington. A lot of people speaking, and when you watch the Pearl Man with the cues, wow, he really was, as Dick Vitale would say, a diaper dandy. He was great. Not so good with the pros, but great there. Rod Strickland, tremendous. Mark Jackson, interesting story. No, I thought it was definitely worth viewing. In fact, I saw it in pieces. I haven't seen the whole thing, from beginning to end. But if I see it, I recorded it, so I'm going to watch it later on and catch it. Because if you're a basketball fan, and especially grew up in New York, playing any kind of ball, whether it was in the city or on Long Island, these names were definitely meaningful, and the legend that they laid out there at Rucker Park and other places around. I mean, every time we have Jim Larinaga on, in vivid detail, he can talk about some game that he had in a park in the Bronx. which is always fascinating to me. So no, it was a well done piece, Libby. I think you'll enjoy it. New York City Point Gods. God Sham God was in this thing.
God's a part of it. I love that. Skip to My Lou's a part of it.
He was legendary, though. I mean, how long was it between the time that he was like this park legend and he actually made it to the NBA? Was there a long period of time there?
It was years.
Because I remember my son calling me and saying, "Wow, guess what? We got Skip to My Lou on the Heat roster." And he wasn't that kind of flashy player. He was essentially a 3-point shooter when he got to the Miami Heat.
They got into his head to play some defense, facilitate, and shoot threes. He was on the team with Lamar Odom and Caron Butler and Young Wade, and he played his role to a T, to the point where he got a big ass deal, I think, with the Rockets.
Yes,
he was one of those guys that was willing to taper down his and one game and make it more patterned toward the NBA. And
very much, really cool. In the fashion of Earl to Pearl Monroe when he went to the Knicks. And you could probably say the same about Bill Russell in terms of offensive productivity. I mean, I would imagine if he wanted to average 20 a game, if that was one of his things, he probably could have done it.
That's my thing. Is I don't slam him for what he did do. He did what he was needed to. It was like Anthony Davis on that Kentucky team. Like that. They're like, well, can he do more in the pros? It's like, yeah, probably. But he's surrounded by 5 stars. So why would he? He was doing what he needed to do to win, and Bill Russell did that for a long time. That was his role.
Ran the floor and also was often igniting these fast breaks. So, the likelihood of him scoring and benefiting from his own hard work under the basket was, somewhat limited. And, he wasn't getting those easy baskets that some of his teammates were, which were all, triggered. And he was a catalyst for, all of the stuff that was going on the fabled Celtics fast break, the original Showtime. All right, we're going to come back with more in just a moment. Close things out on this Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Thanks to Lesley Visser for joining us. It's always a blast having Lesley on the show. Great stuff, as always, with their recollections about Bill Russell and his career. The day after his passing at 88 years old, almost made it, to 89? Did he almost make 89?
Yeah.
See, there was no inclination, though. I mean, was there any indication? Like, you usually would hear something, no? Like, wow, Bill Russell's in poor health or something, no? I mean, I came out of nowhere.
I thought it was fine. But, I mean, he's 88, so I guess once you get there.
Yeah. Once you get to 71, Lubie, I mean, let's face it, sitting here very much on borrowed time. All right, the Gambling Gourmet at 12 o'clock. We're coming back to wrap things up in just a moment here on the Defo Show on Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll come back with more in a moment. Now that it's 8:56.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Thanks to Andy confirming it was the Whopper. Billy Pulse was the Whopper. You don't remember Billy Pulse, huh? I mean, a legendary New York player there from the campus of St. John's University. All right, great being with you. I did, and speaking of the Gambling Gourmet, I stopped in one of our places that we do remotes from once a month, Costas.
Nice.
So I told the Mustang that, we were going up that way and coming back, I said, you ought to have that that pizza that you had with the spinach and the gorgonzola cheese.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so I'm thinking, wow, and they sell that by the slice for like
Yep.
a couple of bucks. It's unbelievable,
Wow, that's
and it's a giant slice. It's like the size of that Klitschko poster back there. It's the size of Barry Bonds' head. These slices, a meal in and of itself for two. I literally like you could order one slice, have them split it down the middle, which they're more than happy to do,
Yep.
and grab a couple of beers, and you've actually had like a meal unto itself with one slice of pizza there at Costa's. But it was brilliant, and I got myself a falafel, which I'm now addicted to their falafels, and it's calling my name. Half of it is still in the fridge, Libby. So we'll get to that. But Costa's, man. 49th Street. It's worth the little deviation there on Federal Highway, man, and a very festive place. And this Portnoy, he pulls a lot of steam, huh? There were people in there that started coming in only because of the Portnoy one-bite pizza thing. And these were sports, huh? I mean, maybe they had an investment in Barstool Sports because guy just sent $100 back to the kitchen, a real class move. Said, here, give this to the guys in the kitchen after he had his meal. Sent him a $100 bill. Pretty nice, man. Some rich Greek guy, but nonetheless, thought it was a nice gesture there. It was a good vibe in Costas,
Yeah, that place is
49th Street, and borderline right there on the border. I think you have 1 foot in the bayou, 1 foot in New York City, because you're right there between Lighthouse Point and Pompano Beach at Costas on 49th Street. No, great stuff, man. The pizza's top notch. Mustang loved it. All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 7. It was a lot of fun being with you today. And thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 7. We'll see you also at 12 o'clock here, South Florida Live with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That's always a lot of fun, talking food and degeneracy with one Michael Q. Mayo. And so until then, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9 o'clock.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.